In Jumbe. Now, in Talk of the Nation this week, we are evaluating the recent NRM party primaries to elect flag bearers for members of parliament and district and municipal council leadership. Violence, voter bribery, low voter turnout were widespread, and I am joined by Job Kiija, a policy analyst, to help us understand the implication of these events to Uganda's political and governance future. Good evening to you, Job, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening, viewers.
So let us start with a general overview. How would you assess the conduct of the recent primaries of the NRM?
I think first of all, I need to mention that the NRM primaries, like since time immemorial, they have always been more like a dry run or a rehearsal for the national elections. Now, what we have seen playing out in these primaries is exactly going to be replicated in the national elections. The bribery, broad daylight bribery that we've been seeing. I mean, the other day I was seeing a minister distributing 5,000 shillings notes to people that were lining up to vote for him. A minister. And I mean, to date, that minister has not yet been brought to book. I have seen the president writing a couple of letters. I think this is the first time that he has written the largest number of letters to his so-called Bazukulu about the NRM primaries. And he has not yet taken action on his own minister that was captured by cameras distributing money. Now, the bribery, the rigging that we have seen, you are talking about over 380 petitions that have been filed, and it's really interesting. This election has been conducted by lining up. Lining up, people line up, you count them, you can see them. It is not like where we do secret ballot, whereby someone can staff. So in this instance where there was no staffing and people were counted and you can see them, it really surprises me to even imagine that you can actually have petitions to that magnitude. Well, so where did the results go?
Well, there were claims that the people that were lining up behind a particular candidate, after they were counted, the votes or the number of people that have lined up were transferred to the other candidate. Yeah,
of course. And I mean, for me, that really speaks to the entire issue that we've been grappling with in terms of the transparency of the transmission of results. Because I mean, oftentimes, even in past elections, we have had issues whereby somebody is declared at the polling station, and then by the time these results reach the tally center, the results have actually changed. And now we didn't expect it to be happening in an NRM exercise whereby people have lined up, but you can actually see that even where people have lined up and you can physically count them, the results can actually get lost along the way. In the district where I come from, which is Hoima, we had really an interesting stalemate whereby the contenders for the district woman MP, two individuals were declared. One person, Harriet Businge, was declared by the returning officer as having won, and then the opponent was also declared by the same returning officer. So it's really quite interesting with the manner in which these results are tampered with, whether they are as transparent as we see by lining up or even by secret ballot.
Okay. Yeah. And so in your observation, like you did mention at the start of the conversation that it is something that has been happening. So in your observation, what do you think usually is the root cause of these recurrent chaos in mostly the NRM primaries and the elections in general?
Yeah, I think for me there are two fundamental factors. The first one is that politics has become a source of livelihood for Ugandans. It's no longer about leading. So it is a do or die. Okay, so the individuals that actually are contesting for these elective positions are not going there to really serve the interests of the citizens, but rather to fend for themselves. So they look at it, they invest massively. We had the other day that in some constituencies, people are investing to the magnitude of 1.5 billion shillings. Now imagine, 1.5 billion shillings, that's a lot of money. I mean, if you gave it to me right now, I would go and retire back home in Kiriangome, where I come from. I would not actually be wasting time in politics. So now,
your whole clan's life will change.
I mean, life would change. So these people are looking at it as an investment, and they are not going in to serve the interests of the people, but rather as a business to make money. Secondly, impunity. a lot of impunity has been bred in our politics. When you look at the level of involvement of the military, every day I am receiving videos whereby the military are either beating up people or beating up security officers like the police. Now, you ask the question, what is the role of the military? Because actually they have taken center stage. Initially we thought that maybe they're engaging in the national politics because apparently they claim that, you know, some individuals might want to take advantage of the situation and cause insecurity. But, I mean, these are NRM internal elections. What the hell is the military doing in NRM internal elections?
Okay.
So, I mean, for me, I think really it's about the impunity that we are seeing, which is growing, and no one is doing anything about it. Even the president, that apparently should be having the upper arm over, I mean, his soldiers because the commander-in-chief. He should actually be calling them to order, instructing his son, the CDF, to get the military out of politics. But he's doing nothing about it. His ministers, because I mean, these soldiers are not deploying themselves; they are being deployed by somebody. I've just been looking at. We did
see the president's intervention when he issued a statement calling out the Electoral Commission chairman, asking and criticizing why he actually had to declare the results, which were, you know, marred by irregularities, voter bribery, and all of that. You did see that statement. He was calling him out.
You see, I mean, the president has really made so many look good statements and which are actually are now rhetorical. We have seen him make threats several times. I mean, people have even stolen money. Okay, and we have seen him come out and lambasting them and bashing them. Fast forward, we see him appointing them in his cabinet. Okay, by now he should have actually been taking action on ministers that have indulged themselves in these malpractices. He should have fired them by now. Soldiers that are indulging themselves in the criminality that we are seeing in the NRM primaries, he should have called them to order. They have a high command, they have different disciplinary tribunals in the military. He's the commander-in-chief. By now, he should have called them to order. But mere statements that he's issuing and making all sorts of threats, I mean, he made a claim that over 1 million votes were stolen from him by the National Unity Platform in the last elections. To date, he has not yet come to account to citizens, okay, on where these votes actually went and who stole them. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission that presided over those elections where he was robbed of over 1 million votes in the last elections is still the same chairperson of the Electoral Commission. The other commissioners are still in their positions. The other officials that apparently presided over elections in different locations where he lost over 1 million votes. I mean, I would be happy and to celebrate with the president. What did he get? He received 50 something.
Yeah, 58.
I mean, I feel bad that the president was robbed by over 1 million votes. Okay, I would be happy for him to actually make heads roll by now. The chairperson should have been fired. The individuals in the EC that participated in these anomalies should have been fired by now. But what has he done? He extended their term. So what does that mean? He's just playing politics to us, and because he's actually the biggest beneficiary from all this mess, so he has to keep these people there and continue lying to us that he's even interested in actually taking action on these errant officers.
Okay, so keeping it the NRM primaries, we also another aspect that was noticeable was the low voter turnout. And hearing your submission, do you think these are some of the things that actually sort of scare people and they hold back? What was the issue with people turning low, few people coming to vote? And yet this is a very big decision for them. You're electing people that are going to represent you.
I mean, it's quite interesting that the NRM claims to be having about 20.1 million members on their register. According to the data that they have given us, about 9.2 million people participated, which is less than half, okay, of their entire membership. Now that means one of two things. Either the NRM vote membership register is inflated, which I believe is so, because I mean, we've been looking at the data in terms of the national population census. As we speak, the expected number of voters on that register is about 22 million. Now for the NRM to be having about 20.1 million people on their membership register means that actually they have close to 90% of the entire voting population as their members. So already that can actually show you that the next election is skewed towards a certain direction. Now, when you look at the NRM primaries, it is actually more interesting that the members that they claim to be having are actually shying away from coming to participate in their membership activities. The question is, why would NRM members be so vigilant and active to go and get onto the voters register or the membership register? But then when the most critical activity happens, which I think for me is actually their primaries, they then shy away. You have less than half turning up. That should actually help make us question these statistics which we are being fed onto by these digital register of the NRM, but also in fact even the if you look at the, if you analyze, I mean you look at Kawempe alone, okay, Kawempe alone has about 200,000 voters, but if you look at the most recently concluded NRM primaries, I think the flag bearer got about 8,000 votes. So the question is, where are the rest of the members of the NRM in Kawempe?
Perhaps perhaps it's the method of lining up, because this was something that, you know, they pointed out, saying that it becomes difficult in a community where, say, you know, your friend, your colleague, your landlord, somebody is a candidate. You're caught between a rock and a hard place.
I think actually for me what this shows you is that of course there are issues with the whole process of lining up, because I believe when you look at it legally, I mean the law provides that political parties must adhere to democratic principles. The only democratic principle that is acknowledged in the law in terms of elections is secret ballot. It is not by lining up. So the lining up, actually, if I wanted, I could go to the Constitutional Court and even contest this election which has just been held, because it has been held outside democratic principles that are recognized. But also, it is so transparent, of course, it shows you that maybe in terms of secret ballot, a number of things have been happening. So now this is actually showing you the reality. Okay.
Hey, just in 1 second, what would be your closing remarks? 1 second.
My closing remark is that in order for us to have a meaningful democratic trajectory as a country, we need to really embrace democratic principles. What we are doing now is actually just trying to play jada. So we should actually get back on the drawing board and ask ourselves, what are those democratic norms that we need to be exercising or that we need to be acknowledging, and then put them into practice, as opposed to lying to each other that we actually are engaging in democratic processes.
Thank you so much, Job Kiija, a policy analyst, helping us to understand the events, the implication of the events from the just concluded NRM primaries. And with that,